final talks, full talks of the day. We have Víctor Fernández de Alba, who is going to give us a presentation on 7 retrospective into the future. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, welcome to my talk. When I was thinking about the title of this presentation, this title came to me normally when things come to me, which is usually when I woke up or I am having a shower in the morning. And it has a why, right? Because this year we started re-imaging the future of Plone's frontend, right? And 7 will not be only just Volto Mark II, but it's a new foundation for the next decade of Plone. And why a retrospective? Because to do so, a couple of years ago, we started to take a look back, right? So what we did in the last 7 years, and trying to understand what made Volto Volto, what makes Volto Volto, and we wanted to identify that what made it powerful, right? What did developers loved about it? What made it uniquely, right? What we can distill from Volto itself, but also not only on the bright side, but also on the bad side, right? And because we wanted to know where did it start to show its limits, and what can we do to make it evolve in a modern way, and how we can also make it improve so the developer experience also improves, and not only that, but also in other areas like performance, etc. So this reflection became the foundation of 7. And we identified the patterns, the idea, the culture. We learned from the lessons, and we are acting upon. What happened is that it started last year in the Ferrara sprint. We had a meeting in there, and we identified what we wanted, what the wish list, what these things that I told you, what we like from Volto and what we dislike or want to be different, right? And we made this roadmap that has a couple of a bunch of ideas, like changing the bundler, removing some elements that we all of a sudden they became obsolete, like semantic UI, obsolete or unmaintained, like semantic UI, or also the theming, or libraries that we have in there that we wanted to use the new versions or new libraries that are more efficient, or they are more performant. But also, when we started to work on this, and this was before the end of the year, after the Plone Conference, we realized that some of this work was very hard to do, right? We understood that modernizing Volto was not about updating dependencies, right? That it was more than that. So remember that Volto is tied to an SSR architecture, a server-side rendering architecture that is very old, that is from the era that the server-side rendering was using isomorphic apps, meaning that the server and the client is using the same code for render, and then you have the first request, you get the HTML out of it, you send this HTML request, the response to the client, and then the client gets hydrated, and then it gets the interactivity afterwards, right? And this paradigm has become obsolete with the new techniques that are out there in the front-end world. And and it's simple could work with the new React 19 model that we wanted to follow. It was one of the things that we wanted to improve. And especially its data layer. So the React 19 data layer has so many improvements, and the paradigm, the data acquiring paradigm has changed so much. And we really wanted to use this paradigm. This also involved getting rid of the Redux API data fetching that we have today in Volto, because it's no longer necessary with this React 19 paradigm, right? So we realized that more of a refactoring we need rebuild, and that it will take less in terms of effort and hours to, okay, let's say, let's leave Volto alone, and let's start from the ground up with a new application and start moving things over. Because again, it's not that we are starting from zero. We have all what we learned in Volto through these 7 years, and we are putting all this knowledge into this new app and this new framework that we are building in 7. So yeah, it's a new beginning, as I said, built on experience. Right? And one of the things that we wanted and we decided is that we are going to build upon a known framework, which is React Router 7. We could have chose any other framework, you know, all the new kids on the more trendy kids on the block, which can be Next.js or Tanstack Start or some other. But we relied on React Router 7, which, if you don't know, is the evolution of Remix. So Remix was also a very successful framework that was out there. They didn't release Remix 3. Instead, they rebranded it to React Router 7. So we are using React Router 7 in all its glory, let's say. React Router 7 uses already Vite as a bundler, so we are not using Webpack anymore. We're using Vite, which is extremely faster. And it's getting faster because the Vite guys now they are receiving funding because they became a startup not long ago, and now they are rustifying all their stack. So it's going to get faster, and they are improving continuously. So now we use Vite. We also want to put in there some wishes, some improvements that we always thought that Volto could have, right? We are going to change the components. We are removing semantic UI, which is obsolete and also unmaintained and everything. We are going to replace it with a more accessible library. We will see that later. We also wanted to kind of separate concerns between the public UI and the CMS UI, meaning that at some point we'd like to be able to deploy only the public UI and not the combo public UI, CMS UI. Right? Because maybe we want a super lightweight site only, and the CMS UI happens in another place, right? And we wanted to decouple that, so we are working on that direction as well. Then, we are also updating the IT9 library. We're using a more modern one. We are redefining all the theming experience to the point that we think that we have to change that the usual experience that we had this 20 years ago, as in, no, Volto or Plone comes with a default theme, and then I build upon that. And then you have a bunch of CSS that you're not using, and then you have a bunch of overrides on the top of that CSS that is useless, right? No, we think that we have to keep the default theme to the minimal expression, right? That is very thin, and then you can reuse it if you want, or remove it completely, and then put your styles on the top. So we're working on that premise as well. And then finally, we want to dramatically, let's say, improve the authoring experience, because we think that we need to put a lot of effort on that and improve the authoring experience, so it's much better than what is now. Yeah, a little bit on that regard later also. How are we doing that? So the first thing that we realized is that we have today a monolithic thing, which is Volto, that you want it or not, you get all the package, right? And in a way, we wanted in a way to be able to slice it, right? Because there are a lot of good things on it, but there were some moments that we wanted to use those pieces, the fundamental pieces, elsewhere. And for example, the example that is more illustrative to this is the client. So what if we build a JavaScript client that can work everywhere, right? For example, so we have this official JavaScript client that can work in any framework, in Next.js, in React, in Remix, in Svelte, or in Solid.js, whatever you want, right? And then publish that as a package so anybody can access or query the Plone API from their framework, right? And we did that. We also extracted what we call is the registry. The registry is, as I like to say, is the most underrated piece of software that we ever produced. Is what powers all the add-ons infrastructure nowadays in Volto and in 7, because we unified it in a way that Volto makes use of it today in Volto 18, and 7 also uses it. And even we made it work also in Next.js and in other frameworks, so we can add add-ons, whatever you put Plone registry, and have the same add-on experience in any framework. And we did this by extracting Plone registry outside of Volto. The same way that we are doing with Plone components, we wanted a library where we can have a tool belt of components that can be used elsewhere, right? Anywhere, sorry. And these components are based in React Aero components, which are the de facto standard, let's say, library nowadays that are the most accessible ones in the ecosystem. And then we call these 3 packages the core packages, right? So it's Plone registry, Plone client, and Plone components. These 3 packages are release transpiled, meaning that they can be used anywhere. Without any build process, relying on any build process. And they cannot depend on any other packages of Plone because of that. Because, for example, if Eric wants to use it in Svelte, right? But so he can grab client and only use client and with any other dependency coming along with it, right? They can only depend on one other package, which is the types. In Plone types, we drop in there all the TypeScript types, the typings for all the data structures that we have nowadays in Plone. And this is the only package that the 3 of them can rely on. Then we have the level 2 utilities, which is React Router nowadays, and the helpers. Those are also release transpiled because, for example, we can also have a collection of helpers that can do things like generic functions that accomplish things that are generic to Plone. Like, for example, I don't know, tell me if this content type has blocks or not, right? They are generic enough that they get arguments and then they return you something. So maybe you want to have it somewhere else. And they can rely only on core packages. And then finally we have the add-ons as we know them today in Volto. But we sliced Volto capabilities in all these add-ons So they can also be modular, right? For example, if we, I told you before, if we want a site that doesn't have the CMS UI, the only thing that we will do is to remove the package from the build, right? Then we won't have any CMS UI in my build, right? Or the same for, I don't know, the theme. So the default theme, we created the default theme in the last Holote sprint in Mexico. It's called Plone Agave. It's a theme that my colleague Dante worked on it. It is based on Tailwind, and it's the default theme for now for 7. And it's already there. But what if we don't want to base our site in Agave? So we remove Agave, we put anything somewhere else, right? So I want to stress the fact that 7 will be super configurable, super flexible, because we are using this modular architecture, right? Another use case is that I'd like also to mention, because it's a wish on my bucket list, is that Plone Contents. So the Contents view, which is an app on itself, we are also slicing it in its own package. What if someone creates an Electron app with Plone Contents on it, and only Plone Contents, nothing else, that is able to browse your site? And you can drop files directly into this Electron app. And there is a desktop app for managing my site. Yeah, I mean, we never thought about it, but it could be a thing, right? And with this modular approach, we will be able to do that. Okay. Let's continue. Quality gates. We want all 7 will be TypeScript first. We are putting a special effort in documentation, also from the beginning. We want also to have unit and acceptance test and a storybook. So we want to have a storybook story for every component that we drop in 7. We have principles that we have in mind while developing 7. So the idea is that hopefully we won't have to run any migration or of any existing data. We're, as I said in the first slides, we are aiming for reusing the same patterns and the same data structures that we're using in Volto today. So we don't have to migrate anything, right? And this is super important. And we have this in mind all the time while developing in 7. The next thing is that have a clear and documented upgrade path. So what you should do if you want to move to 7. And if the first one is true, that should be very few, right? But of course, I mean, there are things that will be different, and especially from the beginning, that it's that the add-ons will have to adapt. The add-ons right now will rely on Redux, for example, will rely on the Volto artifacts, will rely on semantic UI. Of course, you will have to adapt your add-ons to 7, because we will have changed the whole thing that is around them, right? But we want that to have a clear and documented upgrade path, so from the beginning, so people know what to do with their add-ons. Next is, modularity over monoliths. I already explained it to you in the previous slides. Then everything is an add-on. You saw it. Every single feature will be an add-on, right? And 7, as an application, is only the glue of them. I mean, if you go to the core of 7 is a bunch of files, a dozen maybe, and that's it. I mean, you remember, you open the Volto core, and it's a huge amount of files. No, 7 itself is very, very thin. And it's only the glue grabbing things and putting them together. Also TypeScript and documentation first. Reuse Volto patterns, as I want also to stress this out. Separate the public UI from the CMS UI. We also have this in mind that this should be possible, right? And you can only deploy the public UI somewhere, without all the burden of the CMS UI. We want to improve the authoring experience, as I said, and have story-driven components and views and embrace industry standards. And in that regard, React Router 7 is also helping to that because it forces you to use the standards and not any artifacts that are using any strange API or anything. So key differences. I told you 7 won't have Redux. It will use modern React SSR, the one provided by React Router 7. No backend API will be exposed in the client anymore. So if you have developed Volto, you know that the client needs to know where the backend is because it needs to still talk to it, right? In React Router 7, this is not needed. So the client works by asking the node server below it. So no XHR requests are made directly to a known URL. So you don't have to have the client exposed anymore, which is a security feature also, right? Again, TypeScript first. I mean, I won't stop saying it. But this is a must. And flexible theming story. I told you about that as well. So we want the theming story to be very flexible. So if you want to reuse what's in there, you do. But if you don't, you just remove what's in there. You start from scratch. So what we did last year, we did a lot of sprints. I mean, and we worked on 7. Whoa, it passed already. Yeah, anyway. Damn. Okay, so we ate, we drank, we cheered, we geeked, we planned, and we ate again, and we drank again. And then, what's the outcome of that? This is 7. So this is 7 public UI, right? Is the homepage of a 7 site. As you can see, it's already rendering blocks. Not all of blocks. I will show later. But it's able to navigate. You can navigate through the pages. Okay. And rendering already pages with it. And the slate block, that is important. So it's already rendering a minimum slate block on it. Then this is, for example, my site rendered in 7. So I have a site with a Volto on it. It's a blog site, but this is what 7 already sees when it's pointed to my site. So yeah, quite a bit, right? And then we have the CMS UI. The CMS UI, of course, is the thing that it will take us more time to develop, but we already have a POC. We accomplished this in the Salamina sprint 1 month ago. And we have, you can see here on the right, we have the form, the content type form. And on the left, you can see the first workable block editor that is showing the slate blocks and that you can already edit them. And it saves. So if you touch anything of the form or from the block, it saves and then you can see the outcome in the public side. What you see in here is a plate block. It's not the classical Volto slate block. It's the thing that we want to replace it. Plate is an editor that is based on slate, so no migration will be needed. This is important. And someone could say, yeah, yet another editor for Plone and for Volto. No. It's based on slate, meaning you won't need any migration, right? But it provides a better API, better plugin experience, and the good thing is that they have a real big community behind, and they have a lot of plugins that you can use right away, and it's very, 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 very powerful. Okay, then why don't we start again? And we have the state of 7, the first state of 7 of Plone Conference. Yeah. And yeah, I will explain what we have today. I already started, right? We have all the foundations in place. We have the new default theme, which is Plone Agave. We have the basic slots. We have blocks, also basic. We have some views, and we have the simplified theming story in place, which is a lot already. And is what you saw, right? And you can try it. If you are interested, you can do there's a cookie Plone for a 7 add-on already in place, so you can do UVX cookie Plone 7 add-on. And if you put the minus no input, it will generate the template in a folder called 7-on, and you can install it, and you will have 7 installed. And there is a goodie. If you try this, you can point 7 to your site, to any site that you have currently today, and it will work. Why? Because React Router 7 works in a way that is the server who makes the request, not the client. So you won't have any course problem, anything, because the server will make the request for you in the node world, and then it returned the data to the client world through the internal communication that React Router 7 has with the client. So yeah, if you're curious about that, at the end, if I have time, I will make a demo. But yeah, this is the client, so the command line for it. Things that we get for free. This is the PSI of, for example, of my site built on 7, right? It's almost hundreds today, and we want to keep that the same, just by almost doing anything, right? And this is also very important because for a lot of clients, this matters, really. More. Yeah, as I said, we are using React Router 7. This is the plip, if anybody is interested. As capabilities, we will use React 19 data fetching paradigm. Is modern, popular, and supported, right? And this is super important because we are not using anymore some framework that is obscure or it's unmaintained or anything. No, there are thousands of people that are using React Router 7, and it's well documented. It has a lot of resources, Discord channel. I mean, it's one of the biggest frameworks used nowadays in the world, and it has a small bundle footprint. Because by using React 19 and the data fetching paradigm that we are it will have, it will provide us that we will reduce the bundles to the minimum expression. The new theming system, right? It will be based on Tailwind by default, but you could use only CSS or bring your own design system, and we are working towards this. More information in that plip. Then the component refactoring. We talked about this already. We are building Plone components, which will work with Plone layout and Plone theming to provide this, the new component experience of the client parts, the client components parts. And it's powered by React area components. That is, as I said, the default standard in accessibility in React components nowadays. So, the CMS UI, as you could see, it's still in its very early stages of development, but we will work on, yes, this redefined authoring experience that I've been talking about. Yeah. Initially, the idea is to use Plate, but we have still to experiment with Plate a lot, because Plate will allow us to do more fancy things. And we want also to experiment with how to interact with the editor. For example, in Volto, we decided back in the day that each time that you press enter, you create a new rich text block, right? So every paragraph is a block. But we think that we might be wrong with that by forcing it. And to be honest, nowadays, I don't see why this should continue being the case. I mean, if you provide the user enough tools to do whatever it wants with its rich text blocks, why to confine to each block to a paragraph, right? I mean, if you want to continue typing, you just continue typing, right? And we think that we might experiment with that, just for the beginning. And we are thinking also in other things. When I said if you provide the tools for managing this, so yeah, that given a point, you can say, no, here, break this block into two because I want to put something in the middle. Because this was the reasoning behind having a block for each paragraph, right? But if you have the ability to do so, as in, no, insert a break now, then why to confine a paragraph to each block, right? I mean, it has, we feel that it no longer has sense. So we want to experiment with these kind of things, right? Also with things like putting images inline the plate. If plate is able to also handle images in the same way that we do in the image block, then why not? I mean, and then people choose between one another or make it seamless. So if you have the image outside plate, if you move inside, then you have the image inside plate, and then you manage inside plate, but you can also move the image outside, right? So yeah, these kind of things that we have to experiment, and it crosses our minds. More. Whoops. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, yeah, I will go a little bit quick through this. As I said, independent CMS UI, we will have it in a separate package add-on, and we will use it or not, depending on what we want. I already explained about Plate.js, right? And showing a few things. So what we worked during the sprint, Martina from Red Turtle worked on the object browser, and this is how it looks today. It has the Quanta look and feel, and it's a delight, and I love it, and I wanted to show it to you. Then we have the contents view enhancements. We are working. It's still the Plone Contents is still in a PR, but it's getting ready. Julia is working on that from Red Turtle also, and probably it will be ready before the end of the year. And we will have already Plone Contents, Plone Contents view in 7. And it will semantic UI free, it will have accessible controls, and it will be a standalone package. Okay, if you want to start a project with 7 today, you can, provided the 7 add-on template from Cookie Plone. And it works in the same way that Volto add-ons work. In the exactly same way, and that's another thing that we wanted on purpose to be, right? So you're developing 7 or you're developing Volto, the artifacts are the same, the monorepo structure are the same, the files are in the same place, they work exactly the same. It uses an add-on as a configuration for the application that has inside, in Volto and 7 in 7, right? And you don't have to learn anything new. And that's the thing that we were pursuing, right? We are working also in the documentation, as I said. The documentation is in there. And here is how to create a package, step by step, if you are interested in that. Finally, the road ahead. We missed the slots, of course, blocks and views. So we only have the basics of the 3. we only have, in blocks, for example, we only have the title, the rich text, the teaser, and the image, I think. And we need to develop the whole rest of the core blocks in there. We have to polish and complete the theming story. We have to refine the agave theme. We have probably build additional themes to demonstrate what you can do with it. And then, also work on the bundle size improvements that we're talking about. Regarding the CMS UI, we have to finish the contents view, continue working on the rest of the CMS UI views, like the sharing, story, etc. The browser content widgets still need some polishment and functionality. Also the integration with the existing public UI content. So now it's a bare bones, but we need the full view in there. And again, continue working on the bundle size. In accessibility, also Piero is working on making all the CMS UI accessible, and we are putting a lot of effort on that because we want both sides to be the most accessible possible that we are able to do. And one extra thing that happened last week is that React Router 7 started to have support for React Server Components and the whole data paradigm from React 19 that it was still not supporting, right? So, and now it supports the whole thing, React Server Components, server functions, and all the new kids on the block that they were already working in Next.js, but now they also work in React Router 7. So we think that we could make the whole configuration only work on the server, because now we have a limitation that everything that you put in the config, it ends up in the client bundle. And we want the client bundles to be the smallest possible, right? So we think that we will be able to put the whole configuration in the server side only, and then serve the components via RSC every time that we need them in the client. And we want to achieve that in the times to come. Finally, the trendy thing. So AI, we are working in, also we want to work in integrating AI, not only in the editor, but also probably in 7 itself, like you use local models or bring your own LLM, and also support for Plone MCP, which we are already toying around with the concept. URLs. So if in case that you are interested, also this is the documentation URL for 7, the preliminary one. Then we have a collection of storybooks because now we have one storybook for each client package. For example, we have one for CMS UI package, we have one for Plone layout, we have one for Plone components, of course. And the aggregator of all the storybooks is this plone-storybook.readthedocs.io. And finally, the branch. We are using the branch 7 in the Volto repository, and in case that you want to check it out. And the demos, fresh from the oven, we have the first official demo site for 7. We have it in there. And in case that you are also interested, this is my site in 7. And yeah, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the questions for Victor. Let's see if I can get the mic from here.
So thank you for your talk and your work. what you talked about, separating everything in different components. So if someone comes and wants to build an app in Electron and use, is that do you really have such scenarios realistically, or is something that you're thinking about? Because it feels like the Plone dot something and Plone app something separation of concerns for if someone wants to use it outside of Plone, and that never happened.
I know.
Is that an extra effort that you are maybe thinking?
Not really. Not really. I mean, it's just separating it into a package, and then since it's an add-on, it will have its own configuration, its own routes definition, its own CSS, and all things around. I mean, it's not a burden to maintain that.
All right.
But it's wishful thinking, as I said. So yeah, could be, and yeah, that someone can say, okay, let's just for fun, let's put it in an.
I actually have one question of my own. When you mentioned about the CMS UI and the public UI, isn't there this danger of not getting the WYSIWYG anymore because the Plone has been the WYSIWYG king on the CMS side? So,
come again?
When you mentioned about the CMS UI and the public UI, kind of having the separate things, and does it kind of endanger the WYSIWYG thing that the Plone has opened? What you see is what you get, kind of thing.
It does, yeah, and that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Yes. But we also think that if you want to separate them at some moment, so you can have the public UI alone, and that's fine. But then if you go to the other side, you will have to have also the public UI part in when you extract the CMS UI. So it won't be bare bones. It will have also what you have put in the other side as well. So yeah, that's what we mean. Still is a little bit in flux, but we wanted at least to achieve something that is workable, but without losing the WYSIWYG for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Okay, there.
Víctor, thank you very much for the presentation and even more for the hard work. We see that it's tons of efforts. The question I have, actually two questions about the same thing. Will 7 simplify kind of onboarding for front-end developers who are not Plone experts? And second one, consequent, how can agencies and service providers prepare their teams for 7? Thank you.
So yeah, in terms of developer experience, we are also very committed to that because we ourselves are developers, right? And we experienced this during this year that developing in 7 is a breeze, and we had feedback from it even during sprints. People coming, oh my God, developing in 7 is so nice, and I say, yeah, we know, and because it all came with React 19, right? And with the React 19, the React team what wanted to achieve is that the way that you develop in the server and in the front end, kind of the boundary is seamless, right? I mean, it disappears, but you still are developing for the server and for the client, right? But is this framework the one that connects the dots for you so you don't have to, right? So, and in that regard, you are just developing React components, and that's the beauty of it, right? And you just forget about anything else. No, because I have to write this endpoint. No, that's over. I mean, it's that will be gone with React 19, and in that regard, it's very nice. And when you got back to, the problem is that you get back to Volto after a sprint, and then you say, oh my God, no, I have to develop in Volto again. Because, yeah, it's a great experience to develop with 7. But in fact, because it's based on React Router 7 and React 19, right? The other question was, to prepare. Yeah, as I said, we want to, from the very beginning, to write these migration steps because, the data I think that we will achieve, that we won't need any migration, and we are quite confident with that. But the add-ons, yes, you will have to. And then we want from the very beginning, what are the steps that you should do? We still haven't started. I mean, that's one fact. But at some moment, we will have to, okay, the slider block, in Volto, I want to have it in 7. And then once you do the first one, then we document everything. We put the first documentation in there in place. But yeah, it will be things like that. There's no Redux, so where the data will come from. No React Router old. I will use the new hooks instead of the old hooks. And then the styling. So yeah, it will be all these kind of things. But we want them to have them compiled from the very beginning.
You can start by removing semantic UI.
Exactly.
That's what we do today.
Exactly.
Thank you. Let's have a round of applause for Victor.